So hi guys, welcome back. This is part three. We're going to talk about mass voting today. So I'm on my home screen again, and just to show you that you can go via automation mass voting, or you just click here on the rocket, and you will see a picture very similar to what you saw before. You have the accounts. First, select an account. There's a search box. If people have like 100 accounts, they can search, so they quick find it more quickly. But with two accounts or three, it's not really necessary. So again, you click on that, and the same page opens up. You have settings. You will see the activity later on, and different in mass voting is you will see the statistics. At the moment, nothing has happened because it hasn't been set up yet. But this will show us, what the account has been doing in terms of mass story activities. So what can we do here? The first thing is we need to select either people's post likers or people followers. So this is the targets. Do we want to work on stories of people who like someone's post or people who follow someone? And the reason that these two are there is that this depends on the niche. There are niches, or there are also people who swell. That apparently also depends on the country, by the way, where people say, oh, if somebody likes somebody's post, they're more engaged and they're sort of more active than if they just follow. Follow is a more passive thing than like a specific post. But here it says, better than like it three times. This is an overall result we've seen that if you follow followers, that you get a better result from story views. But it really comes down very much to your specific niche and your specific targets, and you need to test this. Might be looking very different for you. You can import a target list here. You can copy a target because if you have like 20 accounts, you don't want to write the same targets all the time. So you can copy them, but you can also, and if you have them, you can also clear them. The way I go about this is, and I want to show you that very briefly, is I'll check out Instagram. I'll just pull another browser window in here. I'll just check out my specific niche. So I already did like a hashtag search for Jesus. Wait, let me make this fit into the, so you can see explore tax Jesus. And then I look at, if I go through this, what are the accounts that are on the top? So the accounts that post stuff regularly, because more likely these accounts will have a lot more followers, and you need people who have a lot of engagement, a lot of followers. And I've already done that in this specific account. And there is one, for instance, here, a Spanish one, actually, sorry, a Portuguese one, most likely Brazilian one. And you can see it's got 121,000 subscribers. So then I will just choose that name, copy it. We'll get rid of this one. Put it in here, and this is exactly the same. It will look for that, you know. And in the beginning, when you don't know any better, when you have no clue, what you might want to do is you want to sort of use the same name as for likers. So this was the one we saw, and for followers. So it does the same thing twice. And then you can compare in the statistics, which one works better. I'll just leave this two now. But when you really want to use the mass story view facility, please use many targets here. I would advise at least 10 different targets, and all of them should have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers or likers. Because, very simply, what you will do with mass story viewing and voting is you will watch stories massively of those people. And if you think about it, not everybody posts stories. And even those people who post stories might not have questions on them or polls on them. So if we watch, you'll see this in a second, about 400,000 stories a day, only probably 4,000 or 5,000 of them will have any kind of interaction facility. And this is why this is so powerful, because it works with the interaction. So let's go to this. At the moment, I leave those two because for the first few, it doesn't make a difference. So what can we do with this? So what we now have is people who like this kind of Portuguese guy or people who follow these Portuguese guys and will watch their stories and will have a look at whether they put a poll into that stories. And if they do, we will answer that poll. And you can see down here, poll answer options. And it could be either the first option, the second option, or a random option. What is a poll? Like, for instance, uh, what do you like most? Whiskey, vodka, or Coca-Cola? Yeah. And then you click one of them. And this is what the system does automatically. Polls are extremely safe, except for some people who write something really stupid like, should I, commit suicide? Yes, no. Yeah. For these kind of questions, those are dangerous, but usually they give you a few options. All of those options work, and it doesn't matter which ones of those options you choose, or actually, in this case, Socialflare chooses for you. What happens is the person gets to know who voted on their poll. And this is in their list of contacts, and they might get curious. And this is where this comes in. If you watch 400,000 stories a day and you vote on 4,000 of them, there's a high likelihood that you get dozens, if not hundreds, of followers out of that. That's why mass voting is such a strong system. But let's go on. That was the poll. Um, I fished out the poll here. If you give me a second here, just to show you how this looks like. We have our friend Ty Lopez here, who I absolutely don't like, but you know, he does just well. He's doing a lot of stories. And if we look into that story, this is actually, wait, he's too fast.
Man,
Yeah.
flashy more, you know.
Do you
Is
like,
this yours right here?
do you like
You got the
Lambos with
Lambo?
yes, no? Yeah.
From home, you heard me in LA.
I mean, this is of course totally artificial and stupid, but it's only done for one reason, to get your attention and to get you to interact. Because the more interaction there is, the more lively an account becomes, the more likely it will grow and have followers. So you don't want Ty Lopez as you don't want to vote Tai Lopez stories. You want to vote for people who are interested in Tai Lopez because very likely they're interested in Instagram growth. So, for instance, if you sell Instagram growth, that would be a good target here to see followers and likers because they will be interested in your services. So, for what you put here is more likely people from your field, maybe even your competitors, but again, make sure they have a lot of followers and a lot of likers, or because otherwise, yeah, you're not going to get enough stories. So you can do this, of course, very slowly and very targeted as well, but usually it works better in mass. So that was the poll. Questions answer, and a lot of people don't like that because this is more dangerous in terms of being reported, because people answer an open question. What you do is you answer an open question. So somebody says, "What should I do this evening?" and you answer something. What can you answer automatically, not knowing what the question is? Yeah. So I prepared a few ones for you, just to show you. Well, give me a second. Um, I'll copy a few ones in here, like you might do this. Unrelated as a hashtag. I know this doesn't have to do with your question, but but if you have a second to spare, I think you'd like my music. Or what a great question. Okay, but here's a shameless plug. I think an even better one is, why haven't you checked out my music yet? This is of course for our music account, etc. Hey, I know this is unrelated, but if you have the time, please check out my music. I think you'll like it. These kind of things. So that's of course much more spammy. So a lot of people don't do that, but you can. Yeah, you can. There are a number of people I know that have only um, the kind of emoticons that can be like applause or fire or smileys, etc. So whatever the person asks, or you like a question mark, or like face palm, etc. So whatever the person asks, you'll answer, but only with an emoticon. So that's more, it's less dangerous. It's kind of nice, but people will see through it anyway. Story countdown is a very new one, a very, very simple one. Uh, that says like three, two, one on a story. Some people put that on their story and say, wait 5 seconds till, my new post or something like that. Slider points is, how do you feel today? Very bad, very great. On a scale from 0 to 100. And you have a slide and you can switch it. And that's also safe. And most likely, and this is why you have slider points min max here, uh, most likely people have usually the positive outcome on the right hand side. How do you like my new post? And you would like to want to say something like between 85% and 95%, more likely 99%. Yeah, that would be, for instance, a slider point. Quiz answer. This is a question with like four different versions where you can say, okay, like where's the capital of Burundi? And that is A, Burkina Faso, B, Entebbe, C, Cape Town, D, etc. And this will this quiz answers will just pick any kind of random question. Yeah, just to have fun as well. And you can also choose just viewing, not answering anything. So usually it's better to either act on the polls or switch them all off and switch viewing on. Let's put them all on for a second. Um, we've chosen this log in, log out system. Forget about that; it doesn't work anyway. But even if if you should ever disable, is a good place. This means the system will not all the time log you out, log you in to start a new session. This was useful with Instagram, but it's also not the thing I would recommend for a big account. And storage parsing speed, as I said, like I would go for the maximum here. But of course, if you have a tiny target, if you have very few stories, because you have a very narrow target, you don't want to get the system to run too quickly. So you would go to very slow speed, and you would know that you get the exactly right people, and your account is totally safe. And again, like with the other modules, definitely put in a long sleep time every day, like from 0 to whatever 11 right now. And like all the other ones, status, you can set all this up, but keep the status deactive, then it will not do anything, or set it to active and save, and now it's going to start running. So here, the interesting thing is, of course, to watch in the activity log what's going to happen. And again, this usually works very fast, but not within like a few seconds. So I'll pause this video now, wait a second, and we'll come back to that page. So we're back after actually 4 minutes, just to show you how quickly that works. You've seen this page before. There's because I've selected mass story view, and I told you shouldn't do all of that side by side. So it says use this with caution. Well, I'm going to use it only for a few minutes. Um, but as I said, you don't want to overdo these things with the highest speed, etc., etc., etc. Let's have a look at the activity log. Wow, look at that. So it just started 4 minutes ago, and we already have answered a slide poll, answered questions, um, and as you can see, it's all Portuguese because we chose that Portuguese thing. Um, there are a few technical things that are not really interesting to you, but in case you ever run into a problem, um, tell support this PID, this is the process number here. Um, and you can see it because we said between 85 and 95%, so here it's 86%, 91%. And yeah, and that's it. And we don't know yet how many followers we're gonna get, but you can see mass voting is in progress, and it does a lot of actions as this goes along. Uh, the stats will not make any sense yet, as I saw. Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense. But you do this, you set them up, you let them run for a day, and then you come back and have a look. The activity log is always only the last few ones. You can see there's already something new here. Um, but the stats will give you an overview. Now, one important thing to know is that this mass viewing and voting algorithm has safety features built in. So if it runs into an Instagram block, then it will stop, it will wait, and it will try another way. And there are a number of ways the system can work to make that going. So sometimes what you will observe is that for a certain time, nothing happens. So here you can see there's something every 13 seconds, you know, actually exactly 13 seconds. And this is a bit more here. And then you might have like half an hour of nothing. Don't worry, don't get nervous because the system is trying to find a way around the Instagram blocks, and there are a number of things built in that do that. Um, so just patience is the word here, and have a look. And as I said already before, make sure that you have, unlike what I did here, many targets, at least 10 here, and make sure that you test. So, in other words, like test the likers, test the followers. You might want to have only likers on one day and all the followers on the other day, so you will better be able to see not only how many actions are happening, but also so that you are able to say, how many followers you get out of them and which one works better for you because it might be different. Also play around with these things. I switched off the questions answers, as you might remember. I can, of course, switch them back on and switch the mass story view off, for instance. Let's do that for a second. Save. Did I save? Yeah, I saved. It says so. Always up here, you will see green or red. If something goes wrong, it's red. Now let's see in the activity log. Oh, there's a countdown, for instance. See this guy, you can see it here in the picture. He's got a countdown with time 0000. So that's why you have every second, and we follow this countdown until it's actually really zero. So this is if you are this guy here, Sorteio Luis. I don't know. We can have a look him up on. Oh, actually, I haven't shown you yet. Let's use this guy as a good example. We will my feed. This is like a browser within the system, and you can do a lot of things. I don't have the time to go into this right now, but very briefly, it's browsing with your account. You can actually search here, people. Let's see whether we find this guy. And this is like if you would no, this is it looks like a strange username, doesn't it? It's probably not it's probably the full name and not the username. Just like Devona Kendall is the full name, Devona Kendall is the username. So let's search with only Sorteo. I don't know whether this makes any sense. Let's see whether we find him. There's a lot of Sorteos, unfortunately. Oh, there's many more Sorteos than I ever thought. So we won't find him that way, unfortunately. uh, yeah, but with this system, you can like search for people, search for hashtag, look at the followers of your account, look at what kind of stories there are. What if you don't have stories? It'll give an error message. Like this account doesn't have any stories, and it doesn't have any archived stories, so you'll just get the error messages. But of course, we have followings. Yeah? And of course, the account also posts and has a feed, a normal, like if you would open Instagram with your mobile phone. So my feed can be used for these kind of things. There's more details to it. I'll make an own video on it because it's a very powerful system. But right now I just wanted to see whether we find. Okay, let's go back to mass voting, which was our topic here. Let's go back to our friend Devona and to her activity log. Because I saved again, it says it started again. Remember that I changed things. And then it searches again. It first scans, scrapes all these names, and then searches for people who have questions and then answers those questions. Well, that's it. All the best. Good luck. Thanks for, spending the time. And let's see what you can, create.